one episode.
Yeah, I think so.
Great, that is wonderful.
There is, however, one small favor that I'd like to ask of you.
There was a moment nobody talks about when it comes to Justine Bateman. Not the Emmy nominations, not the 55 million viewers, not even the year she spent destroying herself in secret while America watched her play Mallory Keaton every week. The moment that actually matters happened around 2010, when she sat alone at a computer, typed her own name into Google, and read what strangers had written about her face. The autocomplete suggestion finished her search before she could. Justine Bateman looks old. She was 41 years old. What she did next is the whole story. When 16-year-old Justine landed the role of Mallory Keaton on Family Ties in 1982, most parents would have thrown a party. Her parents threw her belongings into boxes. Her dad found her an apartment. Her mom helped her pack. Her brother Jason immediately started drawing up plans for what he was going to do with her bedroom. That wasn't tough love, that was a business decision. When Jason had landed a role on Little House on the Prairie at 12, their parents figured out that managing their kids' careers paid better than actually working themselves. Jason later admitted on Conan O'Brien's podcast that this created a peer relationship with his parents, rather than anything resembling a real family dynamic. The Batemans weren't raising famous kids, they were operating them. So when Paramount's money started flowing in for Justine, nobody in that house hesitated. She was 16 and already on her own. Family Ties premiered September 22, 1982, and became something that barely exists in television anymore. At its peak, 55 million people watched every single week. The biggest network hits today struggle to crack 9 million. Back then, with only 3 broadcast networks and no streaming, that number made Justine one of the most recognized teenagers on the planet. 2 Emmy nominations, a Golden Globe nod. Michael J. Fox said she was amazing, fantastic, and tremendously talented. Teenagers across America started naming their daughters Mallory and Justine, names that had barely existed in the American vocabulary before the show. What nobody saw was what was happening between takes. The constant scrutiny of her appearance under studio lights, week after week, in front of 55 million people, triggered something that wrecked the next decade of her life. She developed anorexia, bulimia, and compulsive overeating simultaneously. She ran from the set between takes to vomit in the bathroom. She binged, she starved, she purged, she repeated the cycle for 10 years. Nobody noticed. Nobody said a word. The industry that was celebrating her beauty had no idea, or didn't care, that she privately despised what she saw in the mirror. Then came the moment that planted resentment that lasted 25 years. Justine desperately wanted to go to college. She researched schools, got recommendation letters from the show's writing staff. She was planning it seriously. Then a line producer named Carol Hymas sat her down in her dressing room and delivered the news. "You can't go, honey. You're under contract to Paramount Studios." She tried to negotiate. Fewer episodes, semi-regular status, just enough time to take some classes. The answer was no. Paramount owned her time completely. While her character Mallory got to go to college on screen, chasing dreams and growing up, Justine was legally prohibited from doing any of it in real life. She was 17 years old, watching a fictional version of herself live the life she was being denied. That doesn't leave you. In February 1988, she hosted Saturday Night Live. It should have been a career milestone. Instead, it became uncomfortable evidence of something nobody wanted to say. Her talent was specific. She was extraordinary as Mallory Keaton. The SNL performance made clear that outside that character, she wasn't there yet. Critics were brutal. The episode bombed, and it should have been a warning sign about what would happen when Family Ties ended. Nobody issued that warning. That same year, still at the height of her NBC fame, Justine headlined Satisfaction, a movie about an all-girl rock band. Aaron Spelling backed it. Liam Neeson signed on as the love interest. And playing a bass guitarist in the background, in her very first credited film role, was a 19-year-old actress named Julia Roberts. Let that land for a second. There was a window in Hollywood history, brief, documented, and on film, when Justine Bateman was a bigger star than Julia Roberts. Within 2 years, Julia would star in Pretty Woman and become one of the biggest names on the planet. Satisfaction tanked. Critics called it dull and cliche-ridden. Jason, trying to be supportive, told the press he admired his sister's courage and joked her movie would outperform his own Teen Wolf 2. He was wrong. Both films bombed. The gap between the Bateman siblings' career started there and became a canyon. By the early 1990s, family ties had ended and the eating disorders had not. Then a friend said something she couldn't unhear, that what Justine was doing with food looked a lot like addiction. She resisted the comparison at first, but she couldn't stop thinking about it. She entered a 12-step program. She admitted powerlessness. She took inventory of the damage. She found a higher power, and that's when Justine Bateman gave her life to Jesus Christ. Through the program and through faith, she started healing. Then she made what she thought was a brave decision. While starring in Men Behaving Badly opposite Rob Schneider in the mid-90s, she went public about her decade-long battle with eating disorders. She talked about her recovery. She talked about her faith. She thought honesty would be respected. Instead, it became a liability. Actresses weren't supposed to admit weakness. They weren't supposed to mention God. And they were absolutely not supposed to age naturally. As the offer slowed down, her agents delivered a message with no subtlety whatsoever. If she wanted to keep working, she needed to surgically alter her face. Not eventually, now. Her career depended on it. She met with 3 plastic surgeons in Beverly Hills. She sat through consultations where they marked up her face like a renovation blueprint. One recommended cutting around her eyes to create an almond shape, taking away the bags, removing extra skin, a brow lift. He told her she was a candidate for the works. She used a photo from one of those consultations, her face covered in surgical markings, as the cover of her book Face, 1 Square Foot of Skin, published years later. She walked away from all 3 surgeons, and by walking away, she signed her own exit papers from mainstream Hollywood. The roles dried up. Her agent started steering her toward reality TV and hosting gigs. The message was clear: if you won't play along, we have nothing for you. Around 2000, she let her Screen Actors Guild card lapse, called her manager, and told them she wasn't acting anymore. She meant it. She founded Justine Bateman Designs, a clothing company specializing in one-of-a-kind hand-knit pieces that sold to Saks Fifth Avenue, Bendel's in New York, and Fred Siegel. In 2001, she married Mark Fluent, a real estate developer. They had 2 children. For the first time in her adult life, she wasn't performing for anyone. In 2003, she shut the clothing business down. And then, in fall 2012, at 46 years old, she enrolled as a freshman at UCLA to study computer science and digital media management. People thought she'd lost her mind. She hadn't. For years, she had been pitching ideas for digital entertainment projects, and industry executives kept telling her the same thing. You're 4 years ahead of the technology. Come back later. She got tired of waiting, so she went and learned how to build the future herself. The adjustment was brutal. She cried in her car after getting exams back. She made UCLA her full-time job, showing up every weekday whether she had class or not. Nothing came easy. In June 2016, at 50 years old, Justine Bateman graduated from UCLA with a bachelor's degree. Back to that Google search. She typed her name. She read what strangers had written about her face. She clicked through the forums. She stared at the photos they'd posted as evidence of her supposed decline. At first, she couldn't understand what they were seeing. She looked like a woman in her early 40s who had lived a full life, but there were so many of them, and only one of her. The comments started working on her. She began wondering if they were right, if she needed to fix something. That thinking messed with her head for months. Then she snapped out of it. She realized these people were projecting their own fears about aging onto a safe target. She started interviewing about 20 famous people about their experiences with fame and public scrutiny. She dug into the psychology of why society decided women's faces were a problem requiring correction rather than just faces belonging to women who had lived. In 2018, she published Fame, The Hijacking of Reality, a book breaking down the life cycle of fame into stages: the love, the hate, the equilibrium, the slide, the descent, and the without. In 2021, she published Face, 1 Square Foot of Skin, asking why the world had decided a woman's aging face was broken and needed fixing. Women reached out by the thousands. They told her they'd spent years worrying about wrinkles when they could have been living. In 2009, before any of that, she had already shown a different side of herself. She resigned from the SAG National Board in a protest that left no ambiguity about how she felt. She called AFTRA a scumbag organization. She said SAG should have bought them out and shut their duplicitous leadership up years ago. She compared SAG leadership silencing elected officials to communist China and tumultuous Iran. This was a woman who had run completely out of patience with institutions that protected themselves at the expense of the people they were supposed to serve. When the Writers Guild struck in May 2023, Justine became one of the most technically credible voices on artificial intelligence in Hollywood. She posted a thread explaining why AI had to be addressed immediately, not in the next contract cycle, now, because this was the last labor action that would carry real leverage. If rules weren't locked in, studios simply wouldn't notice future strikes. The machines would keep producing content either way. SAG-AFTRA asked her to serve as their AI consultant on the negotiating committee. What she found in those rooms horrified her. Studios wanted to scan background actors once, pay them for a single day, and own their digital likeness forever without additional compensation. They wanted to feed AI systems every recorded performance ever committed to film. Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, every actor who'd ever lived. She called it psychopathic. When SAG-AFTRA reached a deal on November 8, 2023, she went on MSNBC and told actors to approve it only if they didn't want to work anymore. She criticized it for failing to include language requiring that performers of human characters actually be human. Language the Writers Guild and Directors Guild both secured. The contract was ratified by 86% of the board anyway. She didn't quit. She founded Credo 23, a certification stamp for films made entirely without generative AI. In March 2025, the inaugural Credo 23 Film Festival premiered 2 of her own new feature films. 3 days after the 2024 election, she posted that she was decompressing from walking on eggshells for the past 4 years, that common sense had been discarded, intellectual discussion demonized, and anyone who stepped outside approved opinions faced professional and social consequences. Her follower count more than doubled overnight. The Hollywood Reporter then claimed she was a well-known Trump supporter. She forced a retraction 5 hours later. Media started speculating about tension between her and Jason, who had publicly expressed different political views. By September 2024, she was done with the speculation and posted that anyone who brought up her brother's name for any reason other than praising his work would be muted or blocked. Jason told Esquire in December 2024 that they don't see each other much, but when they do, they're respectful, because they value each other as individuals regardless of the blood connection. A long way from the kid who drew up renovation plans for her bedroom. Then January 2025. Devastating wildfires tore through Southern California. At least 24 dead, over 10,000 structures destroyed, more than 100 square miles burned. On January 10th, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle traveled from Montecito to Pasadena to visit fire victims, hand out supplies, and meet with survivors through their Archwell Foundation. The visit started as anonymous. It ended up all over the press. The next day, Justine posted, "Meghan Markle and Harry are no better than ambulance chasers. What a repulsive photo op they achieved. They are touring the damage. Are they politicians now? They don't live here. They are tourists. Disaster tourists." The post hit 1.88 million views and 33,000 likes. In March 2025, she published a Substack piece arguing that every opportunity the couple had pursued in recent years was built on what she called an aggressive victim Olympics that the backlash to Markle's Netflix show with Love Meghan wasn't about what she was doing now, but about the road she took to get there. It's 2025, and no one wants to see victims anymore. No one wants to watch someone play act at something they didn't earn. As of 2025, Justine Bateman's net worth sits at around $6 million. For someone who was once one of the biggest television stars in America, that number looks modest. For someone who spent 25 years being told to get surgery, shut up, and disappear, it looks like something else entirely. She didn't get the surgery. She didn't take the reality TV deals. She didn't apologize for aging. She enrolled in college at 46, graduated at 50, wrote 2 books, fought inside union negotiating rooms against billion-dollar studios, launched the film festival, directed her own features, and picked fights with everyone from the SAG-AFTRA board to Harry and Meghan, and won most of them. The girl who cried alone in her car after computer science exams. The teenager whose parents packed her bags at 16 to monetize her faster. The actress who ran to the bathroom between takes for a decade while 55 million people watched her smile. She didn't just survive Hollywood, she made it irrelevant to her. And that's the part of the story they never see coming.